I mean, I've heard things about being reported about that it's closer to this, it's closer to that. It really is. It's a hybrid of a lot of things, but it stays true to the core concept of Philip K. Dick's story. There were things that I wanted to bring in from the film that I was just a fan of when I saw the movie when I was a teenager, that had such an impact on me that I didn't want to leave out of this film. And when I read the script, it actually deviated so much. You know, it didn't go to Mars, which was drastically different from the Verhoeven version, which is closer to the Philip K. Dick story, which never goes to Mars as well. It's all Earth-based, and so actually because it deviated and was so different, I wanted to draw some other things that were familiar, and so it's a balance, and hopefully it's a good one. It was really just going through the script, and when you write, you're always picturing somebody in mind. And I was just saying over there, I was so lucky that I think it's rare that you get your first choice for a lot of these characters, and it's really difficult actually. And I think nobody really talks about it, that you go through a casting process that you can't help it. At least personally for myself, I'm not speaking for others, but when I read and develop a script, you can't help putting a face or a slight, just even a shell of possibly reflecting who that person could be. And then once you get to the casting process and you get turned down by this person, and then you start going, okay, I can kind of squeeze that person into this role, even though I was picturing this other, and it just didn't happen to me on this one. Everybody from starting with Colin from the beginning, I wanted to really set a different kind of film. I had no intention of replacing Arnold. Arnold was awesome. I loved the guy, and his it's why I went to that movie. I much more at that period. I was going to see the next Arnold movie, and there was a lot of talk about who's going to replace Arnold. I didn't want to replace Arnold. I wanted to have another version of Quaid, and have somebody that was a bit more of an everyman. That kind of goes to the Philip K. Dick question. And I didn't read the short story until I reached college, and kind of had a backwards, kind of experience of it, and go, oh yeah, that's right, that's the movie that I remember with Arnold. But the short story had much more of a slightly more grounded character, in the sense of being a little bit more of somebody that you could relate to as possibly being yourself, that has this wish fulfillment, experience. Biggest hurdle was a lot of working with Kate was the easy part. It's like I know what I'm going to get, and I know she'd be fantastic. So that was an easy one. The biggest hurdle is always, honestly, it goes to budget, schedule. These movies, we're always trying to do more with them, and the schedules aren't necessarily catching up with that. And then I try to do as much as I can practically. So that is, I think it's something that I just am a fan of. But it's also really difficult. I think in this day and age, even right down to my own team, I think sometimes looks at me like I'm crazy, honestly, in terms of what I want to do practically when you do have CG. We have massive sequences, action sequences in this that were very technically challenging. We have a hover car sequence, this massive elevator, action, some kind of staples of regular action movies, but in a world where hover cars, elevators that move every which way, and I wanted to do it practically, and so pulling that off was very challenging.